I've been pretty depressed. I got laid off, and to top it all off, I got COVID too. And you know what? I'm doing pretty great now. You'd think that all of these struggles piling up all at once would have been a lot more difficult for me. But instead, the opposite happened. Getting laid off has given me more headspace to focus on improving my mental health. Getting COVID has sucked, but it has been a forced reset for me to challenge a lot of my existing habits and improve them. And with that reset, I have a much cleaner slate to reinvent myself. On that note, today's video is all about resilience, resets, and reinvention. RRR, the best movie of 2022. Okay, not that RRR. But you should watch RRR on Netflix if you have the time. But in any case, let's discuss the first R, resilience. Okay, I lied. We're not going to discuss the first R. We're actually going to start with talking about privilege. Lots of people might say, I lost my job, and losing my job was the best thing that could have possibly happened to me. It was an amazing test of resilience. And for many people, that is true. And for me, it is true. But I can't talk about resilience without acknowledging that I am super privileged. Thanks to living with my parents, I've managed to save up a substantial safety net. And now that I've been laid off, thanks to living with my parents, I have both a safety net as well as very low expenses, so I can basically live like nothing happened and maintain a pretty comfortable life. Again, I can't talk about resilience without acknowledging the role privilege had to play in that first, and making it easier. That said, just because I'm privileged, just because you're privileged, doesn't mean that you're not struggling with something. One of the biggest things I've been struggling with is unreasonable anxiety about working on YouTube videos. Hence, while I'll often post like 1 to 3 videos, be like, it's my time, I'm back. And then after like a couple weeks, I'll disappear for a few months. Don't call me out on this, please. I'm calling myself out first. But this exact scenario happened while I was working to prepare this video. I initially scheduled myself to record it like 2 or 3 days ago, and I kept being like, I don't really want to. I can do it tomorrow. And I've realized, like, that's that anxiety creeping in, and I'm still struggling with it, even with so many other improvements happening in my life. But getting back on the topic of resilience and anxiety, I've always had the excuse of, I don't have the time or energy to work on this because I'm so busy with work. And now that I've been laid off, I don't have that excuse. I have time, I have energy. But the anxiety is still there. Obviously, between a bit of depression and a bit of anxiety, my mental health hasn't been in the best place. But the other factor is that I do need to just work up my resilience and improve my discipline to actually just do the thing. There are many, many things in my life that I really enjoy, but those things take effort. And due to this mental health cocktail, simply the idea of expending effort is unreasonably terrifying, even though it's all things I enjoy. And I don't want to conflate depression and laziness. Those are two different things. But I'm certain that in addition to whatever depression I've been feeling about my last job or life or whatever, I often make excuses when there aren't any excuses to be had when it comes to working on YouTube and other things that I want to do but take effort. It sort of felt like I'm always moving but spinning in place instead of going forward. So to improve my resilience, I have really needed a reset. And frankly, so do a lot of people right now. Because we all have been resilient. Dealing with a global pandemic, economic uncertainty, everything going wrong in the world. These problems are really mentally overwhelming, and they get multiplied by the overuse of social media, doom scrolling, all that. Like, overusing social media results in so many negative patterns, like fear of missing out, constantly comparing yourself to other people, and perpetually being bombarded by all the worst news in the world that you have absolutely no control over. And I don't hate social media. I literally work in social media. I'm making content on social media. Social media platforms are extremely important and useful tools. Yet many of us need to reset our relationships with these platforms as well as other aspects of our lives. Lots of us already know that a reset is in order and that our relationship with social media and other habits we have aren't great. But how do you actually make that change? Here's what I've been doing to effectively reset many parts of my life. First off is restricting access to distractions. We have phones. We like our phones. And through our phones, we can connect with people, but we also spend a lot of time browsing social media, going through the internet, consuming heaps and heaps and heaps of content. I mean, if you're watching this video, that's what you're doing right now. If you asked me to count the number of times over the last couple months that I've picked up my phone, checked Twitter, scrolled through, remembered nothing, got bored, closed Twitter, and then 2 seconds later opened Twitter again, that number would be embarrassingly high, and I don't want to tell you. I'm not going to tell you. The same goes for opening TikTok or YouTube Shorts and then suddenly 2 hours have passed. Social media, our phones, and other technology are all amazing tools, but there's a point when you stop using the tool and the tool is using you. Thankfully, these major offenders when it comes to mental health, time, and energy can all be restricted. Let's start with minimizing phone usage. This will only be for iPhone users, as I have only ever used iPhones. If you're an Android user, these types of tools exist, but I can't tell you how to use them. Just look it up. One Google search away, look up how to do app limits or something like that. So if you're an iPhone user, start with settings, go to the screen time setting, and then go to app limits. I have 2 separate limits for my apps, one being for social media doom scroll platforms like Twitter and TikTok, and another being for more long-form content consumption like YouTube and Twitch. The numbers I have on here are quite strict, with about 25 minutes for each. Basically, I can still use these apps. It's not like I'm deleting every social media from my phone. But simply knowing there's a time limit forces me to be a lot more intentional with how I use these apps in the first place. And secondly, if I run out of time, should I really need to check something, or like I'm on a break and want to watch a couple YouTube videos, I can just put in my app limits password, sign on for another 15 minutes, watch a couple videos, and then be like, okay, back to work. And my average screen time with my phone has gone down by like 50 or 60% just by making this one change. I've gotten so much time back. Furthermore, I do everything on the Apple ecosystem aside from when I game on my Windows PC. So I use Safari as my browser, and these app limits extend to the equivalent websites on Safari as well, which is doubly useful for my productivity. So it's not like, oh no, I've run out of YouTube time on my phone, let me just open youtube.com on my browser. If you're not a Safari user or you're not in the Apple ecosystem, you can get Chrome extensions like Stay Focused, which give even stricter website limits. I used that through college, and that is the only reason I had a really good GPA through college. To top this all off, I've redesigned the home screens on both my iPhone and my iPad to make good apps like Duolingo, Headspace, or Notion super easy to find and access, and less good apps like Twitter much harder to access or find and less in my face. The main takeaway from this is that you can identify the things that waste your mental health, energy, and time, and make those things either hard to find or restricted to access. Now that I'm not watching like 7 hours of YouTube a day while I'm unemployed, this has completely eliminated the I don't have enough time or energy excuse when it comes to making content. On top of content creation, I'm also actively searching for full-time jobs, writing part-time with makeuseof.com, and doing a lot to improve myself, such as reading more and exercising more. So once you've restricted the bad habits or made them harder to do, you need to replace these with good habits, and my recommendation is to start small. So right now, the good habits that I really want to nail are reading, meditation, exercise, and healthy diet. I've read a couple books about habits, primarily Atomic Habits, and just about any book that discusses the habit part of productivity, self-improvement, whatever, one of the biggest pieces of advice is to start small and realistic, as well as making it easy. For example, I might have the goal of reading like an hour a day while I'm unemployed, but to get started, I did like 15 to 20 minutes a day and just was like, okay, that's enough. I just gotta show up every day. And I'm making these all super easy to do. For reading, I'm putting my Kindle on my desk in the morning so it's the first thing I see when I sit at my desk. With meditation, Headspace is on the front page of my phone, and I set a reminder. And with strength training, my weights are literally right next to my bed. In Atomic Habits, James Clear basically says that the most important part of forming a habit is showing up to do it. So if you make the habit too difficult to start, you're much less likely to show up to do it, and you won't build the habit. So to build the habit and be able to show up every day, start small and make it easy. When building good habits, it's most important to simply show up and do them, but it's also important to track your progress. For daily tracking, I'm using Habitica, and I have my daily tasks right here, like a gratitude journal, exercise, or if it's a planned rest. Meditate, read, practice languages, work on YouTube, and then once a week I have planned week and weekly review. And then I have other like little extra things like, oh, did I skip dessert? Did I read extra? Did I meditate extra? Did I plan a project so then I can stay on top of things? So I just give myself little wins, and it's so satisfying to tick all the boxes at the end of the day. That covers my daily tracking, but once a week, I do a quick 10-15 minute review in Notion with a template based off of that of Thomas Frank's big ultimate task template. So first off, I can set like a few tasks or self-care tasks to do throughout the week. I can then click down and see what my upcoming tasks for the next week are. I'm not going to do that, just then you're not spoiled on any upcoming content. And then I have 5 little questions to answer. One being, how well did I adhere to actually completing the tasks that I planned for the week? What went well this week, and how am I grateful for that? What didn't go well, and how can I improve it? Is the system working? Because I want to build a good system that works with the way that I work, and if the system has flaws, then I want to change the system. There's no point in trying to force yourself into a system that doesn't work for you. So it's important to evaluate the system on a weekly basis as well. And then last, I just set the intentions for what I want to achieve or be for the upcoming week. My weekly review is great for holding me accountable, and accountability is one of the hardest things when it comes to building a new habit, skill, whatever. While this reset is very much in its early stages, it was actually my infection with COVID and the resulting isolation that gave me the headspace to actually start to think about this reset. And this all is happening at all because I want to reinvent myself into the person that I want to be. Who do you want to be? In our lives, there are multitudes of friction. Things like our jobs, our habits, and sometimes even our friends and families that sort of cause us to cement who we are and make it difficult to change who that is. Regardless of who you are, regardless of whether it's realistic or not, who do you want to be? I frequently thought I'm not the person who I want to be. Prior to recently, I had almost never asked who exactly the person I want to be is, only who I don't want to be. Like, I know I don't want to be a depressed, overweight wannabe creator who is too anxious to even make videos and can't afford to move out of his parents' place. Though I am deeply grateful for their support, but don't get it twisted. This is all subtracting who I am and not refilling it with anything else. So if we think about these things that I don't want to be, what do I actually want to be? I want to be a deeply passionate, energetic, and athletic person. I want to have no hesitation to create content, and I want to deeply understand the audience who I create for. I want to have a job that I love and can be passionate about almost every day. And I want to comfortably be able to afford to move out at some point. Once again, don't just consider who you don't want to be, consider who you want to be. You can run away from something in 360 degrees, but if you're not running towards something, you'll probably just get lost again. Don't just run away from who you don't want to be, run towards who you want to be. I don't just want to stop being out of shape, I want to be an athletic person who exercises regularly and eats healthily. Most of the time. I don't just want to reduce my anxiety when it comes to making content. I want to be an excited, passionate creator who leads their community and makes without hesitation. So to summarize everything we've talked about, but actually in reverse. The reinvention sets the goal of who you're moving towards being. The reset is how you build those habits, and the resilience is how you stick with them. I'm at a point in my life where I've really wanted to reinvent who I am and become the person who I've always wanted to be. Circumstances like getting laid off and getting COVID have given me the exact clean slate needed to actually think about that, to reset and build the habits to move in that direction. And even with my privilege, I hope to maintain the resilience to see it all through. We're going to talk about you, so here are 3 questions for you to consider. 1. Who do you want to be? 2. What about your life needs to change to move in that direction? 3. If you're struggling to make those changes, how can you either make those changes easier or be more resilient? These are the questions I've asked myself over the last few weeks, and I'm frankly feeling happier and more fulfilled than I have in a really long time. I still need a job and I haven't lost that weight yet, but it's working, and I hope it can work for you too. And if one of the things you want to change or add is, let's say, learning an instrument, you should try the ocarina. If you're curious about learning the ocarina, click this video right here, and I can help you get started. As always, thank you for watching. Please leave a like if you enjoyed it, and subscribe for more, and I will see you next time. Best of luck.